Justin Baldoni didn't just survive the smear campaign, he may have just won the war. For over a year, he's been dragged through the mud by one of Hollywood's most powerful names, accused of things that threatened to dismantle everything he'd built. But now, the very foundation of Blake Lively's case is cracking, and at the center of it all is an email that wasn't meant to see the light of day. This isn't just a scandal, it's a collapse. It's the unraveling of a perfectly manicured narrative that once had the entire internet convinced. A former Daily Mail reporter, a PR war that reached Taylor Swift's camp, and a rising actress who once called Justin the most sincere director she's ever worked with, is now avoiding subpoenas like they're landmines. What we're witnessing isn't a case of he said, she said anymore. It's a full-blown power struggle where truth is finally breaking through the noise. Isabella Ferrer, the actress who once praised Baldoni's set as safe and life-changing, is now ducking court orders and keeping suspiciously silent. But why? What changed? And why is it only now that the dominoes are starting to fall? In just the past 48 hours, one email turned the tide. It doesn't just poke holes in Blake Lively's claims, it blows them wide open. Names like Tree Payne, James Vitusa, and even Taylor Swift's father are suddenly in the mix. Accusations of manipulation, of lies, of extortion. And if even half of it is true, Blake Lively's reputation might not survive the fallout. But this is just the beginning. Because the next chapter doesn't belong to Blake, it belongs to Isabella. Isabella Ferrer was supposed to be the breakout star, the fresh face, the unbothered, untouchable new talent whose performance in It Ends With Us was going to launch her into the Hollywood elite. Instead, she's ducking subpoenas like they're paparazzi, ghosting Justin Baldoni's legal team, and aligning herself with Blake Lively's rapidly crumbling narrative. What happened? When the cameras stopped rolling, Isabella wasn't just grateful. She was glowing. Her texts to Baldoni were the stuff of heartfelt farewell letters. She called him a wonderful, smart, and sincere director. She thanked him for creating a comfortable, safe space on set. She said the experience was life-changing, not just in passing, but in writing, in photos, in interviews. She even sent Justin a picture from their shoot, writing that she'd carry the memory of filming with him for the rest of her life. Those aren't the words of someone traumatized. They're the words of someone thrilled and even honored to have worked with him. So why, when Justin tried to contact her later in the case, did Isabella turn to shadows? Why did she suddenly become unavailable, unwilling to talk, unwilling to testify? Baldoni's legal team tried serving her electronically. Nothing. Tried serving her in person. Nothing. But here's the kicker. She had no problem accepting a subpoena from Blake Lively's team. When Blake came calling, Isabella answered. When Justin reached out, silence. It's not just suspicious, it's damning. The very same woman who praised Justin publicly is now acting like she's got something to hide. And the public noticed. Online, she's earned a new nickname. Isabella Fraud. Her critics aren't holding back, calling her everything from a coward to a co-conspirator. But others? They think she's scared. Scared of Blake. Scared of the machine. Scared of the consequences that come with telling the truth when the wrong people are listening. But that fear doesn't excuse what she's doing now. Because right now, Isabella Ferrer is playing both sides. She's the actress who said she felt safe with Justin Baldoni, and the same actress who's now helping build a case against him by refusing to clarify what really happened on set. She's taken shelter behind Blake's lawyers, her publicist, and the polished PR machine, trying to keep this house of cards standing. But every silent move she makes only raises more questions. Why avoid the one man who gave you your first big break? Why dodge the director you publicly adored? Why stay quiet when the truth could end this entire circus? They say screenshots last forever. And in Isabella Ferrer's case, they just might be her downfall. The internet isn't guessing anymore. It's not speculating. It's reading her own words, her own messages, her own glowing praise of Justin Baldoni, and asking the one question that no publicist can spin. How do you go from life-changing to lawsuit? The texts between Isabella and Justin aren't just friendly, they're practically worshipful. After wrapping her scenes on It Ends With Us, Isabella sent Justin a heartfelt message that read like a love letter to her experience. Thank you so much for an incredible experience on my first film. It truly was life-changing. You're such a wonderful, smart, and sincere director. You created such a comfortable, safe space for me to fully step into this role. That wasn't a soundbite. That wasn't PR. That was a private text, unprompted, unfiltered. And that's exactly why it matters. She didn't stop there. She sent Justin a photo she had developed from their time on set. Something sentimental, not scripted. She told him to let her know if he needed anything. She closed with love. And when Justin replied with admiration and support, she followed up with even more gratitude. These weren't just thank yous. They were trusted, mutual respect. And now, they're the evidence, the irony. It's the very movement that Blake Lively and her camp try to weaponize. Believe women. But now the tables have turned. Because Justin's supporters have one simple message. We do believe her. We believe everything Isabella said before the lawyers got involved. The internet has gone surgical, clip by clip, text by text, screenshot by screenshot, and the result is a damning portrait, not of Justin, but of a young actress who praised him when it was convenient and ghosted him when it got political. And when people point to her words and say, "But she said she felt safe," Isabella's silence screams louder than any PR spin. There's a growing chorus online now. I believe her. I believe her when she said the experience was life-changing. I believe her when she said Justin created a welcoming environment. I believe her when she said she'd work with him again. And what's most brutal? Those receipts aren't just social proof. They're legal evidence. Evidence that directly contradicts the claims being propped up around her now. Some are speculating that Isabella's texts were quietly edited, deleted, or filtered under pressure, possibly at the urging of people connected to Blake Lively, or worse, her husband Ryan Reynolds' deep Rolodex in Hollywood. Others think Isabella's silence is fear-based, that she's being protected or manipulated. But in court, speculation doesn't matter. Evidence does. And the texts don't lie. What started as a sweet thank you may end up being the smoking gun. There's a growing theory in the court of public opinion, and it's not just gossip anymore. The narrative around Isabella Ferrer is shifting, not because she spoke up, but because she suddenly went silent. And now, people are asking the uncomfortable question: did Isabella Ferrer actually change her mind about Justin Baldoni? Or did someone change it for her? Let's be clear, what Isabella said before the lawyers got involved is on the record. In her texts, in her interviews, in her tone. She wasn't just comfortable, she was thrilled. She praised the environment. She praised the intimacy coordination. She even told Justin that she hoped to work with him again, calling the experience one that will stay with me for the rest of my life. That's not PR polish. That's personal gratitude. But then something happened. Suddenly, Isabella was avoiding legal contact, refusing to accept subpoenas, ignoring the man she once thanked profusely, but welcoming Blake Lively's legal team like old friends. That kind of behavior doesn't happen in a vacuum. And when you look at the people surrounding her, Blake, Ryan Reynolds, the lawyers, the PR specialists, you start to see the web tightening. Let's talk strategy. Because it's not just about what Isabella says, it's about why she might be staying quiet. Industry insiders are now whispering what creators like Dave Neal are saying out loud. Isabella may be under intense pressure from Blake Lively's team. The kind of pressure that doesn't come with a threat, but with a promise, a future role, a career favor, an unspoken understanding that if she plays ball, she stays in the game. Sound paranoid? It shouldn't. We've seen it before. Earlier in the case, a journalist admitted to signing an affidavit under duress, only to later recant it. That same pattern is now being mapped onto Isabella. And when a person who praised her director in private and public suddenly refuses to testify on his behalf, the silence speaks volumes. It raises the possibility that she isn't just avoiding the courtroom, she's avoiding the truth. Even Justin Baldoni's team tried to offer her a way out. He didn't threaten her, he didn't retaliate. In fact, he said he wouldn't use her texts or her testimony if Blake's team agreed to leave her out of it too. That's not vengeance, that's grace. But she didn't take it. Why? Because Blake already dragged her in, and now she's stuck. Trapped between the person who launched her career and the person who controls her future. Trapped between what she said then and what she's afraid to say now. And no matter how you slice it, that's not justice, that's leverage. Some creators have gone even further, calling this situation a classic example of Hollywood coercion. Ashley BTV, in a now viral video, said it outright. Isabella isn't Justin's victim. She's Blake Lively's. She's being told to stay quiet on set, not during filming, but during litigation. Because when someone like Blake whispers, "You're either with me or you're done," it's not a threat, it's reality. So was Isabella coerced? We don't know for sure. But if she was, she's not the only one. If Isabella Ferrer ever takes the stand, she won't just have to answer for the texts. She'll have to answer for the cameras, for the interviews, for the praise she gave on record over and over during her It Ends With Us press tour. And the centerpiece of that praise? A name Hollywood knows well, the intimacy coordinator. In today's film industry, the intimacy coordinator isn't optional, it's essential, especially on a project like It Ends With Us, which deals with sensitive, emotional, and physical material. And according to Isabella, that coordinator, Lizzie, who had previously worked on Bridgerton, was not only qualified, she was extra careful. Her words. Isabella didn't just passively mention it, she gushed. She said there were constant check-ins, conversations about mental and physical wellness, and a clear priority to make sure she and her co-stars felt supported. She said the set was comfortable, that the environment was great, that communication was prioritized. And that was when she watched her own work. She felt good about it. That's not a woman describing trauma. That's a woman describing trust. And here's where it all starts to fall apart for Blake's side. If Isabella is now the implied key witness to support claims of misconduct or mistreatment, how do you explain her glowing public statements? How do you reconcile a press tour full of compliments with a legal argument suggesting the opposite? And most damning of all, if Isabella had been uncomfortable, truly uncomfortable, why did she choose to say the exact opposite to millions of viewers? Critics are now pointing to what they call the intimacy coordinator defense, a mountain of public statements, videos, interviews, and press snippets that directly contradict the idea that Isabella was ever unsafe or unsupported on set. And that doesn't just hurt the case legally, it obliterates the public narrative that Blake's team has tried to craft. Let's break it down. You can't claim someone was coerced if they repeatedly and publicly said they weren't. You can't argue discomfort when the person in question went out of her way to thank everyone involved. And you certainly can't argue that Justin Baldoni fostered a hostile environment when the very person accusing him of it once called it life-changing and safe. Hollywood is a town that runs on image. And right now, Isabella's image is caught between two versions of herself, the one who praised Justin and the one who vanished when he needed her most. But the receipts are permanent, and the footage doesn't lie. So when Blake Lively's legal team inevitably tries to lean on Isabella's silence as implied support, Justin's defense won't need to say much. All they'll have to do is hit play. There's Isabella Ferrer before the drama, and there's Isabella Ferrer now. The transformation isn't just unsettling, it's impossible to ignore, because the young actress who once praised her experience with Justin Baldoni in both private texts and national interviews has now become a silent shadow, conspicuously absent whenever her name appears in court documents. So what changed? Let's go back to the beginning. The first Isabella, the one we met on press tours, on red carpets, in text messages, was joyful, grateful, confident. She was working with her childhood idol, filming her first major motion picture, and by her own admission, she was thrilled. She called the project life-changing, said she was so excited, and gushed about the environment Justin had created on set. That Isabella was proud. But somewhere between the rap party and the legal crossfire, something broke. The second Isabella emerged, cautious, quiet, and suspiciously protected. The same woman who once said, "Let me know if you need anything, G," suddenly couldn't be reached. And the very man she once praised as wonderful, smart, and sincere became the one whose subpoena she refused. She answered Blake's lawyers, but not Justin's. Why? Many believe the shift didn't start on set. It started during promotion. Industry insiders have suggested that Blake Lively orchestrated a coordinated effort behind the scenes to secure loyalty from key cast members before her lawsuit went public. That may sound dramatic, but it's not unprecedented. Hollywood is a chessboard, and Blake has the kind of power that makes pawns move quietly. According to some online sleuths, including Reddit legal analysts and fan-led investigators, Isabella's loyalty was tested during promotional rounds, when subtle messages were allegedly sent to unfollow or distance themselves from Baldoni. It's no coincidence that around the time those rumors surfaced, Isabella's public demeanor shifted. Gone were the gushing tweets, gone were the friendly replies. In their place, strategic silence. And silence in a lawsuit is rarely neutral. People close to the production have pointed out that this may not be Isabella's decision at all. Some claim she's simply following the advice of a legal team, possibly one paid for or referred by someone in Blake or Ryan Reynolds' circle. Others go even further, calling it manipulation. They say Isabella was swept up in the kind of behind-the-scenes coercion that Hollywood rarely acknowledges, but always whispers about. A starlet with a promising career, caught between the director who helped launch her and the A-list power couple who could blacklist her. So, which Isabella is real? Was the first version warm, open, grateful, just a mask? Or is the second one, the quiet, reclusive figure in the legal shadows, being told to keep quiet to protect something or someone? What's clear is this: one of them is lying. Either she meant everything she said about Justin and is now betraying him out of fear or pressure, or she lied then and has been playing a role ever since. But the odds of that? Slim. Because no one gushes that freely, that publicly, if they're secretly terrified. The tale of two Isabellas isn't just about contradictions, it's about credibility. And in this trial, credibility is everything. Every scandal has a moment, the turning point. The second the lie fractures, the moment the illusion can't hold. In the Blake Lively vs. Justin Baldoni saga, that moment came in the form of one explosive email, one message, one disgraced reporter. And now the entire case is spiraling out of Blake Lively's control. The name? James Vatusa, a former Daily Mail reporter with a complicated past and a reputation for playing fast and loose with facts. Not exactly the most reliable voice, until he accidentally dropped a truth bomb that neither Blake Lively nor her PR army was prepared to contain. In an email sent to Katie Joy, known online as Without a Crystal Ball, James lays it all out. Not just theories, not just gossip, details, dates, names, motives. And what he says isn't just damaging, it's career-ending. Vitusa claims that Blake Lively, desperate to repair her own public image, fabricated allegations against Justin Baldoni. According to him, she knew the accusations would destroy him and did it anyway. Not because he was guilty, but because she needed a distraction, a shield, a scapegoat. And Justin? He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it gets worse. James accuses Sloan, Blake's PR rep, of feeding him false information to craft a narrative. And when he hesitated, when did he realize the story was built on lies? He says Blake's team tried to offer him terms, a soft way of saying, shut up and protect us. He refused, and that's when the real game began. Because in that same email, Vitusa reveals that Blake didn't just try to destroy Baldoni's life. She tried to drag Taylor Swift into it too. According to him, Blake attempted to extort Swift. And when Taylor's father, Scott Swift, caught wind of it, he stepped in and shut it down. Think about that for a second. Blake Lively, the godmother to Taylor Swift's children, tried to leverage their relationship to cover her tracks, and it backfired. Tree Payne, Swift's publicist, is allegedly the source behind these claims. And if even half of this is true, it explains one of the biggest questions in this entire case. Why has Taylor Swift remained silent? The answer? Because she knows the truth. And here's the kicker. James Vitusa's statement didn't come out of some moral awakening. It came after he changed his tune publicly. In court documents, he backpedaled, claimed he had new information, but behind the scenes, in that email, he never changed. That's the smoking gun. The message was sent on May 28, 2025, well before the latest PR storm, and it contradicts everything he's said on the record since. Why would he lie publicly, but tell the truth privately? Pressure, fear, promises from the wrong side. But the email doesn't lie. It's timestamped, verified, and now it's out. And it directly supports Baldoni's legal team's most explosive claim, that Blake Lively knowingly made false accusations and tried to bury the truth before it could surface. This is why Justin Baldoni withdrew his subpoena for Taylor Swift, because he didn't need to drag her into court. He already had what he needed, and it came straight from the inside. If Blake's team hoped to discredit Vitusa, they failed spectacularly. Because in trying to silence him, they only made the story bigger. And now the world isn't just questioning Blake's narrative, it's tearing it apart. Taylor Swift hasn't said a word, not a press release, not a tweet, not a whisper. And for someone whose entire career is built on carefully curated messaging and symbolic gestures, her silence is deafening. The question no one wants to ask, but everyone is thinking, is this: has Taylor Swift quietly turned her back on Blake Lively? On paper, they're best friends. Blake is the godmother to Taylor's children. They double date, vacation together, praise each other in Vogue profiles. But when Blake launched her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, accusing him of misconduct and initiating a PR blitz so aggressive it practically begged for backup, Taylor was nowhere to be found. Not one word of public support, not one like, not one subtle lyric. And now, with damning allegations surfacing about Blake's attempt to drag Taylor into the case through manipulation and possible extortion, that silence is starting to look less like neutrality and more like strategy. Let's rewind to the email from James Vitusa, the disgraced but suddenly pivotal former reporter who claimed Blake tried to use her friendship with Taylor as leverage. According to Vitusa, it wasn't just messy, it was malicious. He alleges that Blake's PR rep, Sloan, attempted to frame Taylor as supporting the allegations against Baldoni without Taylor's actual consent. That Blake, in a panic to protect her reputation, tried to make Taylor her alibi, her human shield. The problem? Scott Swift, Taylor's father, allegedly found out, and he wasn't having it. Vitusa's email claims that Scott personally intervened and shut down the attempt. He protected his daughter from being dragged into Blake's personal vendetta. And that Tree Payne, Taylor's famously ironclad publicist, is the one who confirmed it all behind the scenes. If true, it means one thing. Taylor Swift didn't just refuse to back Blake, she had to be protected from her. This reframes everything. Because now, Taylor's silence doesn't read as indecision. It reads as distance. Quiet, calculated, unspoken distance. She's not defending Blake because she can't. And whether it's to protect herself, her brand, or her legacy, she's chosen not to play the part Blake wrote for her. There's another layer to this. Justin Baldoni's team withdrew the subpoena for Taylor Swift, not because they didn't want her testimony, but because, reportedly, they already had what they needed: evidence, emails, insider confirmation that Taylor was never involved and had no intention of defending Blake's version of events. And when your own best friend won't speak up for you, especially when the stakes are this high, it speaks volumes. Think about what that says in Hollywood terms. Taylor Swift, a woman known for standing with female artists, for championing victims, for using her voice as a weapon of truth, chose to say nothing. And that silence has now become one of the loudest indictments Blake Lively faces. Was Taylor being loyal to herself, to justice? Or did she finally see through the woman she once called her sister? There's another theory, and it's even darker. Some insiders suggest that Taylor may have initially believed Blake's story until the facts didn't add up. And when she realized the truth, she made the quiet, painful decision to walk away. No public fallout, no statement, just silence. A silence that has now become a form of betrayal Blake Lively didn't see coming. And if this case heads to trial, if Justin Baldoni's team calls on tree pain, or worse, on Taylor herself, it won't just be a legal earthquake. It'll be a personal one because Taylor's testimony could demolish Blake's narrative with a single sentence. Blake Lively may be losing ground in court, but behind the scenes, she's waging a different kind of war. One that's invisible to juries, but powerful enough to sway millions. It's the war of perception, of carefully crafted headlines, of shadowy comment bots, media silence, and whispers posing as facts. Welcome to Blake Lively's real weapon, her PR machine. If you've been paying attention, you've probably noticed something strange. Major news outlets have barely touched this story. Despite the leaked emails, subpoena drama, and rising public outrage, there's been a deafening silence from mainstream media. Why? Because the people with the most money don't just hire lawyers, they hire gatekeepers. People who can keep your name out of the headlines until you're ready to spin the story on your terms. Blake has those people, and they're working overtime. It started small. Suspiciously polished comments are flooding creator videos defending Blake's character. Accounts with no profile pictures insisting that Isabella was traumatized, or that Baldoni had a history. He doesn't. Then came the discrediting campaigns. YouTubers like Dave Neal and Katie Joy, without a crystal ball, suddenly found themselves accused of being obsessed, misogynistic, or unhinged. Critics didn't argue the facts. They attacked the messengers. Classic damage control. And when James Vatusa's damning email hit the internet, the PR machine hit back hard. Overnight, posts began circulating that questioned his mental health, his past employment, and even his personal life. The goal wasn't to address what he said. It was to make sure no one took him seriously. If you can't kill the truth, you bury it under noise. But here's the part Blake's team underestimated. The internet isn't what it was in 2012. People aren't just scrolling, they're investigating. They're downloading court documents, cross-referencing interviews, and comparing timestamps. And the more Blake's team pushes their sanitized version of the story, the more the public digs for what they're not saying. The hypocrisy is glaring. A celebrity who built her brand on empowerment and sisterhood now stands accused of silencing a man with fabricated claims, manipulating a rising actress, and trying to weaponize one of the most powerful women in the world, Taylor Swift. And instead of answering those claims, her team is still doing what PR teams always do, running interference. This isn't just about protecting Blake's career. It's about preserving an illusion where she's the victim, where anyone who questions her is toxic, where silence equals virtue. And the longer this campaign goes on, the more desperate it looks. Because here's the truth. When your entire defense relies on everyone else staying quiet, Isabella, Taylor, the media, that's not strength, that's fear. And now, even her most loyal defenders are starting to hesitate. The comment sections that once blindly supported her are turning. Swifties are asking why Taylor hasn't posted with her in months. And fans are wondering why Blake, the supposed victim, isn't acting like someone who wants the truth out. She's acting like someone who wants it contained. So the PR machine rolls on. But the gears are grinding louder now. And the audience, they're no longer buying what it's selling. Isabella Ferrer is standing at the edge of a cliff, and whichever way she steps, something breaks. In one direction, the truth, the risk, and maybe redemption. In the other, silence, protection, and permanent damage to her integrity. The world is watching her every move, asking a question she can no longer avoid. Is Isabella Ferrer a victim of Blake Lively's manipulation? Or is she a willing participant in the takedown of Justin Baldoni? For a while, people wanted to believe she was scared, just a young actress swept up in the Hollywood machine, caught between a director who launched her career and a starlet who could bury it, a woman who wanted out but didn't know how to escape. That's the kinder narrative, the one that paints Isabella as collateral damage in a larger war. But the longer she stays silent, the harder that story is to defend. Isabella has had every opportunity to tell the truth. She could have accepted Baldoni's subpoena. She could have clarified her feelings. She could have said something. But instead, she's dodged, deflected, and let others carry the burden of her words. Words that she wrote. Words that praised Justin Baldoni. Words that described the set as safe, the director as sincere, and the experience as life-changing. Words that now live in legal exhibits and TikTok breakdowns. Silence in this case is not neutral. It's a choice. And every day that she refuses to speak up, Isabella isn't just distancing herself from Justin. She's protecting Blake. Critics argue that this isn't fear, it's a calculation. That Isabella is doing what many in Hollywood do when faced with career-threatening choices, Pick the side with the most power. That she saw which way the wind was blowing and decided to anchor herself to Blake Lively's PR yacht, even if it meant abandoning the person who helped her book her first lead role. But there's another possibility, a darker one. What if Isabella is being used? What if she's being held in this position by promises she never asked for and consequences she never imagined? What if the silence isn't protection, it's blackmail? Some believe Blake Lively got too close too fast, that she pulled Isabella in, made her feel seen, protected, indebted, and then used that closeness to control her. Like a script written backstage, where loyalty is demanded but never returned, where silence is rewarded, where speaking up means exile. It's a pattern, one that echoes through Hollywood history. Whispers of grooming, emotional leverage, career threats, the kind of untraceable pressure that can't be proven, only felt. And if Isabella's caught in that trap, it's easy to see why she's stuck. Speak and you're ruined. Stay quiet and you're safe, for now. But here's the problem. The clock is ticking. Whether Isabella likes it or not, her name is in this case. Her texts are in evidence. Her interviews are being replayed on every creator's channel. She is already a witness, whether she testifies or not. And if this goes to trial, she will be called. And she will be asked to explain, under oath, why her glowing praise of Baldoni no longer matches her silence. If Isabella wants to protect herself, she has two choices. Tell the truth now and risk the fallout, or say nothing and let the jury, the internet, and history decide for her. Because one thing's certain, she won't get to stay invisible forever. It began as a carefully crafted narrative, a Hollywood darling stepping into the spotlight not as a star, but as a supposed victim. Blake Lively wanted to control the story, the press releases, the headlines, the courtroom whispers. But she forgot one thing: the truth doesn't need PR. And now, piece by piece, her house of cards is crashing down. From the beginning, the story Blake sold never quite added up. Justin Baldoni, by every account, even Isabella Ferrer's, was professional, supportive, and safe. But the moment Blake's reputation began to falter, so did her morals. She didn't just point fingers, she tried to pull everyone down with her. Isabella, Justin, even Taylor Swift. And that wasn't just reckless, it was desperate. The text messages don't lie. The interviews don't lie. The emails from disgraced reporter James Vatusa, they exposed the rot beneath the surface. That this wasn't about justice. This was about control. About a woman used to having the last word, scrambling to rewrite a reality that's already on the record. And where's Taylor Swift now, watching from a distance? Her silence is no longer loyalty, it's judgment. And the longer she says nothing, the clearer her stance becomes. Blake is no longer untouchable. She's radioactive. Isabella Ferrer? She may still think silence will protect her, but silence has become complicity. The more she dodges the truth, the more it buries her. Because when this goes to trial, and it will, no amount of fame will shield her from a jury reading her own words back to her. Blake Lively didn't just lose control of the narrative, she weaponized it. She tried to turn justice into a tool, the courtroom into a stage, and the Me Too movement into a personal shield. But the receipts survived. And now, the internet is connecting the dots faster than her team can erase them. The PR machine is still spinning, yes, but the foundation is shattered. And as more voices come forward, as more evidence leaks, and as more contradictions are exposed, the same woman who built her career on charm and poise is being rebranded in real time as the mastermind behind one of Hollywood's most toxic power plays in recent memory. So what comes next? Justin Baldoni doesn't need to prove his innocence anymore. The burden has shifted. The world is watching Blake, waiting, questioning. And unless she can provide more than spin, this won't just be a failed lawsuit. It'll be a career-ending reckoning. Because in Hollywood, image is everything. And Blake Lively's just shattered hers.